I was born in a little town to the southwest of Bloomington called Whiteville, North Carolina. One of the best places in the world to grow up. Working with students. I want to feel like that I've challenged them, that I've given them the opportunity to do something that they would not have gotten before. For example, on Wednesday afternoons, after I've taught lab all day, in many ways I'd rather go home and put my feet up after I had a walk. But instead, we go over to the OSARC lab and we work with human skeletal remains, because I know that not very many students ever get the opportunity to do that, and this is something that I can do, and I can do well, and that I can excite students about. People who like Duke basketball and Mike Krzyzewski. Oh, my dream vacation is to start in Mexico and to go to all the different regions that I've never gone to before. And then I would go to Guatemala, I would go to Honduras, I would go to all the Maya sites, and then return back to the Yucatan from where I started. I've actually given that some thought. First of all, I would set my boys up in business, and I would help my daughter get set up with whatever she needed. She's going to be a professor of bioanthropology, just like me. And I would then restore a hacienda in Mexico. And then I would set up a trust that would provide educational advantages for lots of children all over Latin America. My father, number one, he was the best man I've ever known and probably ever will know. And really, other than that, I think I take examples from different people. Like if I wanted to be friendly and somebody that everybody would like, I'd probably pick Adair Robertson, for example, and because I think she's great. And if I wanted to pick somebody who was just solid and good and someone I could always depend on and to be really dependable, it would be somebody like Miguel Mendez, for example. So different things for different people, but my father overall. Well, my mother has a story. For her, all her stories happen in the 3rd grade, but I think it was more like 1st grade. She came home from school one day, and there was a little guy named Andy Floyd. We were sitting on the steps, the front steps, and she said, "What are you waiting for?" And we said, "Mom, remember the library's moved. You need to carry us to the library." And she says, "Well, can it wait?" And we said, "No, we're going to be anthropologists, and we have to get started right away." And so I got my books, he got his books, and we both became anthropologists. Absolutely not. If you want to jump out of a perfectly good airplane, have at it. But no, I would never go skydiving. Growing up through life, yeah, I've had lots of silly ones. Lollipop, Lollipalooza, for example. My father called me Lolly most of the time. But my most recent ones are La Intrépida, because we'll do anything. And La Distraída, because oftentimes I'm confused about where I am or where I'm going. And then I think Mercedes Guijarro Crouch calls me Trotamundos. If you can give me a chance to go traveling around the world, I'm Senora Trotamundos, trotting around the world. I have a lot of hobbies in a way, but then some of them I don't have time to do as much. I love to sail. I love to swim. Those would probably be the things that have sustained me throughout my life. If I have a problem and I get in the water, my problems are already about 100% better. So I love those. I love basketball. I'd rather play basketball than watch basketball, but I'd rather watch Carolina basketball than almost any other thing on earth, especially if we're winning. And I'll even watch Duke if I know that somebody's beaten Duke. I think the most embarrassing teaching moment for most people, and it happened to me, was once when I'd been given a very energetic lecture, and it was over at Chapel Hill, and there were 500 students in the class. And at the end of the time, I found that I had failed to zip my pants, and so I had my pants unzipped the whole time. But I looked at it and thought, oh well, if they've never seen that before, it's high time they did. First of all, the wild tiger. Why? Because gorillas and chimpanzees are our closest relative. And if you bring an animal in like that from the wild, then you've taken them out of the gene pool for their species, and they're almost they're almost extinct. You can't give a gorilla everything a gorilla would need. You can't do it for a tiger either, but a gorilla is an animal that's going to need long-term social ties for the rest of its life. A gorilla can live to be in its 60s. I'm not going to live for another 60 years. So I would never ever want to have a wild primate because they need to be in the wild. Tigers also need to be in the wild, but they're not as intelligent, they're not as closely related, and so I could probably deal with that a little bit better. But I actually like big cats, but I like big gorillas better.